Yo, lead me back to another episode of Minecraft Survival Games. Today we're playing on the map Survival Games Adrenaline, and today I'm going to be telling you guys about a topic that really means a lot to me, and that is the sport of rowing. I want to do this video because I mentioned a lot of times like, oh, I had crew practice, or oh, I'm going to be gone this weekend because I got a rowing competition or whatever, and I feel like a lot of you only have like a vague idea of what the sport is like, as most people do. I'm not blaming you guys for not knowing about the sport, but since it's one of the things in my life that I'm very involved with, I feel like it's about time I just make a video about it so you guys gain a better understanding of what it's about. Okay, so first, I want to get some terminology out of the way. Some people call the sport crew, some people call it rowing, and there's a difference between the two words. Rowing is this action of moving a boat across water. A crew is the name, like, a crew, they're the people that do the rowing. So, the people who sit in the boat, that's a crew, if that makes sense, okay? So, now that we're on the same page here with those terms, that's good. Because a lot of times people ask, oh, do you row crew? And I'm like, that's grammatically incorrect, because that means, do you row people inside a boat? Which makes no sense. But anyway, that's one of the first things. So, anyway, I got involved in my 9th grade year, at the very beginning. My school, when I was in 8th grade, my school said, hey, there's a rowing team, that rows down by this lake, and they're doing some, they're doing a summer camp, over the summer. It's 1 week long. Just, if you want to try it out, go to it, see what you think of the sport, and whatever. So I'm like, you know what, I got nothing to do that week, so I signed up for the camp, and absolutely loved it, and that's how I got involved in the sport. And people always, like, no one expects to go to high school and then become a rower. Like, most people will say, in high school, I was gonna do, like, football, or basketball, or tennis, or golf, or whatever. Golf is actually what I was gonna do if I didn't do rowing. But anyway, the main objective of the sport is to see how fast, you can row 2,000 meters. And that might sound like a long distance, but it doesn't take that long. The longest amount of time for, like, a really weak person to do it in would take 10 minutes, and that's, like, really, really weak. Most people can do it between 7 and 8. If you train for a really long time, you can get it under 7 minutes, and if you're, like, almost at the Olympic level, you can do it in under 6 minutes, at least for men. I think the world record for, oh, no, that's the, nah, never mind. But anyway, yeah, so, for most people, it takes about 7 to 8 minutes to do, guys or girls, and that, like, that's kind of the objective. Personally, it takes, my personal record is 7 minutes, 37.1 seconds. That's how long it takes me to do it personally. So anyway, how it works on the water is they line you all up in your boat, and the races I row in are, they're 4-person boats and 8-person boats, and the boats are called, or the way the oars are set up in the boats that I row are called sweeps. There's sweeps and sculls. Sculling means you get 2 oars, you have 1 in each hand, and you row like this, and each hand controls 1 oar. But, the one I do is called a sweep. The previous one was called a scull. I hope I said that. Yeah, a sweep is when both of your hands hold on to the same oar, and when you are pulling, you're controlling 1 oar. So, the oars alternate sides of the boat. So, in an 8-person boat, 4 people have the left side, or the starboard side. Oh, no, left side is port, sorry. And then, 4 people have the starboard side, which is the right side of the boat. So anyway, that's how that works, and the objective is they line up about 6 crews at a starting line, and then it's just a straight shot 2,000 meters down to the finish line, and it's whoever can row the hardest wins. And rowing is one of those things that it is a lot harder than it looks. Trust me, it is a beat down to get that thing. Like, rowing 2,000 meters is probably, like, the hardest physical thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, it's so physically demanding that after you row 2,000 meters, as hard as you can. I mean, you can row 2,000 meters and, like, not really try that hard and not be tired. But if you go all out for 2,000 meters, by the end of it, you can't talk because you're breathing so hard. Walking is very difficult. I mean, you can do it, but, like, it's kind of just hard to stabilize yourself. And you're just so tired and you just feel like lying down for like the next hour. Like, it is physically exhausting, and it's very painful too. Rowing 2,000 meters is not fun. But the weird thing about the sport is I don't know why. No one knows why they like the sport, because long rowing, rowing for a long period of time sucks, and rowing hard for a long period of time sucks. But I think the main goal that everyone has with the sport is just winning is the most important thing. To me, the most fun I think I've ever had in high school is the time I won my very first rowing race. I think, like, to me, that is the most important memory I think I've had from high school, because it took 2.5 years for me to do it, and it really showed me that, it was, like, it showed me that you can always work your heart out until you reach your goal. It was, like, something that I'll always remember. I remember the entire race. It was so much fun. My boat won by about 7 seconds, which is a pretty decent amount of water, in terms of a 2,000 meter piece. And it was just a lot of fun, and I was so happy I'd done it. And it's just a good feeling to know you win, because you know you pulled your hardest and you won, and other people, they pulled their hardest, but it just wasn't good enough. I mean, granted, it's not like I've won every race I've done. I've certainly lost a lot more than I've won, but the races that I win are enough to keep me going. The reason I like the sport a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people would say this, is because it's a team sport as much as an individual sport. You have to rely on the people in your boat to be pulling just as hard as you are to get the boat moving. And it's an individual sport because, I mean, you're the one who's deciding whether or not to row hard. But you also have your teammates, so you don't want to let your teammates down, you don't want to let the whole team down, you don't want to let yourself down. That's the thing. You have, like, that's the motivation that keeps the rower going. You just don't want to let anybody down. And, like, the sport, like, has, like, the sport has some weird, like, kind of unwritten rules that only, like, rowers will get, that are kind of funny. One is that you don't wear gloves. Rowers never wear gloves, for whatever reason. I mean, if you get blisters and stuff on your hands, and by the way, I'm not sure, you can't really tell by the camera, but, I'm never gonna have smooth hands again after rowing. Even though I've only would have done it for 4 years by the time I finished high school. I don't know if I want to get involved in a fight, because I haven't played in like a week. Yeah, rowers, for whatever reason, we don't wear gloves. If you get blisters, you put athletic tape on it and suck it up. It's pretty much how it goes. Some other weird rules. Rowers, they always have practice at, like, weird times. Like, sometimes it'll be at, like, 6 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes it'll be, like, really late at night. Like, it's just kind of weird whenever you row. And there's just, yeah, it's just a really fun experience. And to be honest, it's, like, one of those things that, like, you have to experience it for yourself to get it. It's just something that really means a lot to me. But granted, the sport doesn't come without a lot of training. I train 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. And, well, actually, no. I train 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then 3.5 hours on Saturdays. So that's kind of how that works. So I put in a lot of time to this, and I haven't really had a legit break from the sport. I mean, I was at Duke, so that kind of counts as a break. But the sport never really stops. Like, it's not like football where it stops, like, no one's playing football after, like, February or whatever. Like, it just stops. Like, football just stops. Basketball stops in, like, the summer. No one's really playing it then. But, like, rowing never takes a break. And there's regattas all around the year. And the regatta's a rowing race. So, yeah, that's pretty much what the sport is about. It's just how fast can you row 2,000 meters. It teaches you things about yourself and, it teaches you about yourself and working with others. It's pretty cool. And one of, in fact, this one quote that my coach has told me before is actually going to be my senior quote in my yearbook. The quote is, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. And to me, that's just kind of like my whole It's kind of like my whole training approach. It's just work, and I'm rowing for what? About 14 hours a week just for 7 races a year? Like, I mean, it takes a lot of effort, and, like, it really feels like there's nothing better than crossing the finish line first. I mean, sure, you could win a football game, you could land a 3-pointer in basketball, but there's nothing that compares to crossing the finish line first in the rowing race. Because when you're racing, like, you're not supposed to look outside the boat, but I've done it a couple of times. Like, you can look at the rowers in the other boat. Like, they're suffering. Like, they're suffering just as much as you are. You can see the looks in their faces and stuff. Oh, well, I lost. You can look in their faces and stuff and see that everyone is suffering. So it's just a battle of who wants it more. That's pretty much it. I think I covered the sport, and I think I got more into talking about crew than the actual gameplay. So I'll try to get you guys a win for the next game, or hopefully something like that. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching today's episode of MCSG. I'll see you guys next time.